Hello, I am so excited. Today is my first Lunch and Learn, and this is where I'm going to support people with productivity, whatever challenges they have. And today I have with me a colleague, Catherine Sternberg, who is dealing with challenges around her time management. So welcome, Catherine, to my first Lunch and Learn. Thank you so much for being here.
This is
And
such a great idea.
you can ask me whatever you want. There is nothing here that's practiced, or I have no clue what's going to happen. Just ask away, and I will do my best to give you some golden nuggets.
Well, I'm the perfect person to ask lots of questions about time management because it's something that I struggle with, Mimi. My first question would be, so I'm a huge procrastinator and I have trouble getting to the task. I can find lots of distractions to keep me from getting on track with whatever is critical to get accomplished. Can you help me?
So I'm going to say a few things. So first of all, do you know why you procrastinate?
I think I'm more immediate gratification. And so that might be one of the answers. The other one is that once I start doing a task, I actually quite enjoy it. It's just the thought of getting organized to do it and maybe a bit of perfectionism in there.
Yeah, a touch of perfectionism. So consider that there is a part of you that's procrastinating because you don't really want to do the task. So you're leaving it to the last minute because you'd rather spend the time on the stuff that you enjoy. The challenge with that is that there are many tasks in life that we don't enjoy, but we just have to do. So how do you manage that part of it, right? What I do, or what I found is helpful, excuse me, and I don't have a glass of water here, so I'm going to clear my throat, is to put in blocks of time in my calendar. So let me back up one step. I have made my calendar my best friend. When I have something exciting to tell it, I put it in my calendar. When I have something I have to take out or that's a challenge, I put it in my calendar. Everything goes in my calendar. And
I prefer a paper calendar. Is that all right?
Yeah, a paper calendar is fine. The reason I do like an electronic calendar is because it talks to me in the terms of an alarm when I set alarms, but it's completely up to you. If you can get in the habit of looking at a paper calendar and not ignoring it when you're in the throes of procrastination, that's fine. I lived by paper calendar before cell phones came out for years, since I was 14, so for like 40 years or something like that. So paper calendar works.
Now, what happens if something comes up unexpectedly during that block of time? What do I do to adjust?
So let me get back to what you're going to do first, and then we'll get to the unexpected stuff. So in your calendar, whether it's electronic or paper, write down that you're going to work on whatever that task is, whether it's calling clients or working with a client or filing or housework or whatever that is, put it in there. And regardless of how you feel, right, you want to take on that. You created your calendar or the things to do in your calendar at a time when you were objective, and you did them in a way that made the most sense at the time that you did that. So listen to your, in this case, you want to listen to your brain and not necessarily how you feel, right? And follow your calendar. And I get it. It's going to be a practice. It's going to be a practice. It doesn't always work out the way we want it to, but practice that and you'll find that you increase your productivity. Right. So, and it could be that you look at your watch or your clock every hour to see what you're going to do for the next hour, right? And I wouldn't make blocks of time smaller than 15 minutes. I actually don't make blocks. I don't make blocks of time that are smaller than a half an hour,
Okay.
generally speaking. But it might look like return phone calls, and then in the notes section, I'll put down the 3 or 4 people I'm going to return phone calls to.
And what's the best way to keep track of my tasks? Because when you mentioned return phone calls, I thought about there are things that you need to email, to call, to do, to buy. How do you keep track of all of those tasks
You mean like the follow-up from the phone calls?
before you put them in your calendar?
I'm not sure I understand.
So how do you manage your to-do list?
How do I manage? Well, I use my calendar for that.
So it just goes directly into your calendar.
Directly into my calendar. So if I have calls, let's say return calls from 11 to 11:30, I'll probably have an occasion from 11:30 to 12 that says follow up from calls. And then that's when I'm doing the emails or the looking at the website or the whoever I spoke to, their website, or whatever follow-up there is to do. Maybe it's something
Right.
I have to do, not something that I have to source. But that gives me a pocket of time to do the follow-up from those phone calls, because there is always follow-up from phone calls.
So I gather you don't have sheets of paper with all of your to-dos on your desk.
No, that's all on my phone. It's all on my phone. And if I don't put it in my phone, I'll literally forget it, because I trust my phone to tell me what I have to do at this particular point. Now, getting back to that other question you asked me about what to do if there's an emergency or something comes up.
Yes.
So there's 2 different kinds of events that you're going to be putting into your calendar. One of them is a fixed event, and one of them is a floating event. A fixed event is something that can't be moved and usually involves other people. So for example, it could be a client meeting. It could be attending a course. It could be going to church or synagogue or mosque or whatever you do to pray to the universe. Whatever that is, when it involves other people, generally speaking, it's more of an unmovable thing. Everything else is movable. You can move housework, you can move filing, you can move when you do your calls, you can move when you call your mother, you can move when you take your shower or exercise or anything else like that. So one of the things that I recommend that you do is you create two events in your calendar or occasions in your calendar of approximately 15 minutes each that are called emergency or breakdown time. Generally near the end of the day, near the end of your work day, or near the end of your personal day. And let's say let's say a client calls you when you're in the middle of doing your business plan or you're filing or something like that. Then you can readjust. You can finish doing your business plan or your filing in that spot that was allocated for breakdown time.
Keep those interruptions to 15 minutes a day, I would be doing well.
Well, you know, if you need more time for interruptions, then you make your interruption events a little bit longer.
And how do you allow for spontaneity in your life? I think that's one of my challenges if I'm so scheduled.
Again, it's the emergency. It's the using the emergency event. And maybe you need more than that. Maybe you need 3 times a half an hour. Maybe you need, some people, their whole day is based on what comes up in the moment, because they're firemen. They're constantly putting out fires because that's the nature of their work, or it's the nature of their day. I got off on a tangent. Ask me again. Ask me the question again.
How do I keep spontaneity in my life?
Oh, yes. How to keep spontaneity in your life. You can schedule a time.
Schedule spontaneity.
Well, it's not schedule a spontaneity time, but it's scheduled time to be off the grid
Right.
or to not be doing anything that's organized. And generally when I have those times, I'll just do whatever I feel like doing in that moment. I'll allow my heart to take over. It's like, oh, I feel like doing marketing today. Or, oh, I should call so-and-so today. Totally not planned. It's a mishmash of stuff, and whatever will come up will come up. Oh, I should work on my vision board today. Oh, whatever that is. But yes, I schedule it in. And there's time for, things are going to come up unexpectedly. Life is not everything's in a little square box. It will. The best,
especially if you're doing contract work, because sometimes you're not in complete charge of your schedule.
Well, it depends how you say that or mean that. You are in complete charge of your schedule. 100% you are.
Okay.
Okay. There are people I know that won't pick up the phone unless it's their time to pick up the phone.
Yes.
I'm not like that. I pick up the phone no matter what. And if it looks like it's something that I can't speak to somebody about, I'll just say to them, hey, I don't have the time to get into this with you right now because I'm just in the middle of something. Can we schedule a time a little bit later in the day or tomorrow? And I'm happy to spend the time with you to do that.
And that gives you time to prepare for that call too, I guess.
Yeah, it gives you time to prepare for it. If it's something that's going to take me 5 minutes, I have no problem dealing with it. But if it's something that's going to take me 15 minutes, that's a chunk of time that's taking out of the task that you're doing. 15 minutes is a lot of time. That's kind of how I roll. What else do you deal with in terms of procrastination?
Whatever I take on as a task, I underestimate the amount of time it's going to take to complete it. So for instance, last night I was creating a sales page and I thought it would take an hour. Well, it took about 3 hours by the time I finished it. And so I don't have a good perception of how long a task is going to take.
Okay, well, for the task that you're not accustomed to doing, or you don't do very often, definitely add a half an hour. If you think it's going to take you an hour, definitely put an hour and a half on it. For sure. And don't worry if you have extra time, because if you have extra time and you happen to finish the task early, because that's why people shorten the time. They try to squeeze everything into what they think. Add that cushion of time, because if you have extra time at the end and you finished early, then you could either go on to the next task, or B, you now have some of that spontaneous free time that you were talking about. That's the other way I build spontaneous time into my day, is that I give myself sufficient time to do a task and make sure I have enough time to do a task. And if I finish it early, and now I'm free to do what moves me as opposed to what I have to do.
The other challenge I have is finding my sweet spot for when I'm more productive. So I tend to leave things until late in the evening when I'm already tired, because I'm more of a late to bed kind of person. But I would like to be able to manage that more during the day and the early evening so that I'm not left working into the early dawn.
Okay. Well, so knowing you and knowing when you're most productive, I would create my workday at something like 11 to 7 or 12 to 8 or something like that. And that gives you the morning to do whatever you want to do, get yourself revved up, all those things that you like to do, which I'm not going to talk about on this recording. But at the end of the day, you have to stop. It's the discipline of saying, okay, it's 7 o'clock and I've got to start closing things up, or 6:30 or 7:30, whatever that is. I've got to start closing things up because 8 o'clock, no kidding, I am off. I am off and enjoying my life because you deserve it. We did not become entrepreneurs so that we could be slaves to our work. We became entrepreneurs so that we could enjoy the rest of our life and still be able to manage our own, be our own boss. But you have
True.
to
And
stop working. You have to reach a point where you stop working in the day. And
I guess that allows for more spontaneity too if I stick to that schedule.
yes, yeah. Okay, so why don't you give that a shot? And maybe in a couple of weeks, we'll have you back on and we'll see how you fared with some of those things. I gave you a lot of info. I
You
gave you a
did.
lot of info.
That was great. I'd
Good.
love an example of a color-coded schedule, just an example, if you get a chance to do that.
Oh, color coding schedule. This is how I do it. I make all my meetings red. So anything that has to do with another person. I make all my, oh my God, I'm having a little bit of a brain fart in the moment. I know it's red, yellow, and green. I make my meetings red. What do I make yellow? I make, oh yes. So I make all the things that I have to do yellow. Like
Okay.
I have to do client calls, or I have to do my marketing, or I have to do things that don't involve people, but things that I have to do. And then
Right.
everything else I make green.
Okay.
Housework, uh, getting my domain, renewing my membership, checking out, doing my research, everything else becomes green. That's kind of how I do it.
All of these ideas should move me forward. They all seem doable, and I really appreciate you sharing them with me.
My pleasure. I look forward to seeing which ones were easy for you to implement and maybe which ones were not so easy. And we'll check back with you around in a few weeks.
I'll keep you updated.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for being my first guest. And if you would like some coaching on, coaching is not the right word, let's call it mentoring on how can you be more productive in your entrepreneurial life, feel free to connect with me and I'm happy to do a call with you. Bye for now.
Based on what I've shared, I think that would be a great idea.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you, Mimi.